Good evening, BZB, and welcome to Sleep Better Podcast by BZB's Honey, where we share special sleep stories to help you sleep better. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the incredible dedication and care you pour into each day. Your commitment to nurturing others is truly admirable, but tonight, this time is solely for you. It's your turn to be cared for, to be soothed, and to embrace the tranquility that you so richly deserve. Imagine for a moment the gentle embrace of serenity, wrapping around you like a soft, comforting blanket. Tonight is about letting go of the day's worries and immersing yourself in a world of peacefulness and rest. Remember, BZB, caring for yourself is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Your well-being is the foundation from which you can continue to spread kindness and compassion to the world. This story, crafted especially for you, BZB, is a journey to a place where dreams blend seamlessly with reality, where the mind finds solace and the spirit is gently lulled into a state of blissful repose. So settle in, BZB. Let the world outside fade away as we embark on this peaceful journey together. Let's begin. In the serene town of Glenwood, nestled amidst ancient woods and rolling hills, the days passed like pages in a well-worn storybook. It was a place where everyone knew your name, where secrets were hard to keep, but even harder to uncover. The townsfolk of Glenwood lived their lives in a rhythm as steady and predictable as the changing seasons, but beneath this calm veneer, whispers of the extraordinary lingered, hints of a world unseen, woven into the very fabric of the town. Elara, a nurse with a heart as vast as the sky, was a beloved figure in Glenwood. Her days were spent tending to the physical and emotional wounds of her patients at the local clinic, a place that often felt like a second home. In her early 30s, Elara was the epitome of compassion and dedication, traits that made her an exceptional caregiver. Her smile was a balm to the troubled, and her hands worked healing miracles that went beyond medicine. Despite her fulfilling career, Elara harbored a sense of longing, a yearning for something that lay beyond the borders of her known world. It was a feeling that often visited her in the quiet hours of the night as she gazed out of her bedroom window at the dense woods that skirted Glenwood. There was a mystery to those woods, an allure that tugged at her soul, whispering secrets in the rustling of leaves and the distant howls that rode the wind. Glenwood, with its quaint downtown area, lined with brick-and-mortar stores, a cozy diner, and an old-fashioned movie theater, had the charm of a bygone era. The townspeople were a tight-knit community, their lives interwoven with shared joys and sorrows. From the elderly Mr. Jenkins, who spent his days tending to his rose garden, to young Lily, the baker's daughter, who filled the streets with her laughter. Every resident added a unique thread to the town's tapestry. But there was another side to Glenwood, a side as elusive as the flicker of a shadow in the moonlight. Rumors of strange happenings, tales passed down through generations, spoke of a hidden world that existed alongside the ordinary. Some said the woods were enchanted, others whispered of creatures that walked the earth in the guise of men. These stories were often shared in hushed tones over cups of coffee at the diner or during quiet nights at the local pub. Elara's home was a charming cottage on the edge of town, its walls adorned with ivy, and its garden a riot of colors. It was her sanctuary, a place where she could shed the weight of her responsibilities and indulge in her love for nature. Her garden, a labor of love, was her pride and joy, a canvas where she painted with flowers and plants. It was in this garden, under the watchful eyes of the ancient trees, that Elara often felt closest to the unseen world she longed to understand. As the town's nurse, Elara's life was deeply intertwined with the lives of the Glenwood residents. She was a confidant, a healer, and a friend. Her ability to listen and provide comfort made her privy to the hopes and fears of the townsfolk, giving her an insight into the heartbeat of Glenwood. Her empathy and intuition often led her to sense the unspoken troubles of her patients, troubles that sometimes seemed to stem from more than just physical ailments. Elara's closest friend, Sarah, the owner of the local bookstore, shared her fascination with the mysterious. Their conversations often veered into the realm of the supernatural, discussing the latest fantasy novel or dissecting the ancient folklore of the region. Sarah believed in the magic hidden within the pages of books, while Elara sought the magic hidden in the world around her. As the full moon rose high in the night sky, casting a silver glow over Glenwood, the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary began to blur. The air thrummed with a sense of anticipation, and the woods seemed to call out to Elara, beckoning her to unveil the secrets they held. Little did Elara know her life was on the cusp of change, a change that would bring the stories of old to life and reveal the hidden layer of the world she thought she knew. In Glenwood, where myth and reality danced in an eternal embrace, Elara was about to embark on a journey that would transform her understanding of the world and herself. The moon hung heavy in the ink-black sky, a silvery orb watching over the town of Glenwood. Elara, unable to sleep, found herself wandering in her garden, her thoughts as tangled as the wild ivy on her fence. The air was crisp, and the night was filled with the symphony of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl. It was during these nocturnal moments that Elara felt a profound connection to the unseen, a thread that linked her to the mysteries of the world. As she walked, her feet led her to the edge of the woods, the boundary between her familiar world and the unknown. The trees stood like silent sentinels, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. It was then that she heard it, a soft whimpering sound, barely audible above the rustling leaves. Her nurse's instincts kicked in, and she stepped into the forest, following the sound. Pushing through the underbrush, Elara came upon a clearing bathed in moonlight. There in the center lay a creature unlike any she had seen before. It was a wolf, large and majestic, but gravely injured. Its fur, dappled with silver and black, was matted with blood, and its breaths were shallow and labored. Elara's heart clenched at the sight, her fear momentarily overshadowed by a deep sense of compassion. With cautious steps, she approached the wounded animal, her hands trembling slightly. In her years as a nurse, she had seen many injuries, but none quite like this. The wolf's eyes flickered open, meeting hers with an intelligence that startled her. There was something eerily human in that gaze, a flicker of understanding that sent a shiver down her spine. Despite her initial fear, Elara's caring nature took over. She spoke softly to the wolf. words of comfort that seemed to ease its pain. Using skills honed in the emergency room, she began to tend to its wounds, cleaning and bandaging them as best as she could with her limited supplies. As she worked, the wolf watched her, its eyes never leaving her face. Hours passed and the first light of dawn began to seep through the trees. It was then that the miraculous occurred. Before Elara's astonished eyes, the wolf began to change. Its form shimmered and shifted, the lines of its body warping and contorting. In a matter of moments, where the wolf had lain, now there was a man, naked, injured, but unmistakably human. Elara gasped, stumbling backward, her mind struggling to comprehend what she had just witnessed. The man looked up at her, his eyes the same deep shade as the wolf's. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice hoarse with pain. His name was Alex, and as the sun rose higher, he told Elara his story. He was a werewolf, part of a hidden community that had lived alongside the residents of Glenwood for centuries. His kind was rare, and they lived by strict rules to keep their existence a secret from the human world. Elara listened, her initial shock giving way to a burning curiosity and empathy. She thought of the tales and rumors that had floated around Glenwood, stories she had always believed to be mere folklore. Yet here was proof that the world was far more wondrous and complex than she had ever imagined. As a nurse, Elara had taken an oath to help those in need, regardless of who or what they were. Looking at Alex, seeing the vulnerability in his eyes, she knew she could not turn her back on him. She helped him to his feet, supporting his weight as they made their way back to her cottage. In the days that followed, Elara cared for Alex, tending to his wounds and learning more about his world. She discovered that the supernatural was not just limited to werewolves. There were other beings that walked the shadows of Glenwood, each with their own stories and secrets. Elara's heart, always so full of compassion, expanded to embrace these new revelations. She saw in Alex not just a creature of legend, but a person with hopes, fears, and a life fraught with challenges. Her fear had transformed into fascination, and her curiosity into a deep-seated desire to understand and help the hidden inhabitants of her town. As Alex's wounds healed, so did the barrier between Elara's world and his. She realized that her longing for the extraordinary had been answered, not in the pages of a book or the whispers of old tales, but in the living, breathing reality of the supernatural that had existed alongside her all this time. In the days that followed Alex's miraculous transformation, Elara found herself drawn into a world that defied everything she had known. Alex, now in his human form, was a figure as compelling as he was enigmatic. His human identity was that of a local craftsman, known for his skillful woodwork but also for his reclusive nature. As they spent time together, Elara discovered the layers beneath Alex's quiet exterior, a man of depth, warmth, and a haunted past. Alex's story was one of struggle and secrecy. He spoke of the werewolf community hidden within Glenwood, a tight-knit group bound by their shared secret and the rules that governed their existence. Elara listened, her heart aching for the loneliness and isolation that marked their lives. In Alex, she found a kindred spirit, someone who, like her, longed for connection and understanding. Their bond deepened, marked by quiet conversations in Elara's garden and long walks along the forest's edge. There was a sense of ease between them, a mutual understanding that transcended words. Elara found herself looking forward to these moments, her heart fluttering with an emotion she hadn't experienced before. It was during one of these walks that they encountered Damien. He appeared seemingly out of nowhere, a figure of arresting beauty and poise. His hair was as dark as the night sky, and his eyes held the glimmer of centuries. He introduced himself with a charming smile, his manner both courteous and slightly amused. Damien, as Elara soon learned, was a vampire. Unlike the werewolves, the vampires of Glenwood were fewer in number, but no less intriguing. Damien spoke of his kind with a mix of pride and melancholy, his words painting a picture of a life both luxurious and constrained. The vampires, he explained, had their own set of rules, their own way of coexisting with the modern world. Elara was fascinated. Here was another piece of the supernatural puzzle that made up Glenwood. Damien was a creature of history, a living testament to the ages. His perspective on the world was vastly different from Alex's, steeped in the wisdom and experiences of many lifetimes. As days turned into weeks, Elara found herself caught in a web of complex emotions. Her relationship with Alex was deepening, filled with a sense of companionship and shared secrets. Yet Damien's presence brought a different energy, a stirring of something ancient and alluring. He visited her often, sometimes in the quiet of the night, sharing stories of the past, his voice weaving tales that made the world seem both grander and more mysterious. Elara's heart, once so certain of its place in the world, now fluttered between the warmth of Alex's earthy presence and the enigmatic allure of Damien. It was a love triangle that she never could have imagined, one that filled her days with wonder and her nights with dreams of moonlight and shadow. Alex and Damien, for their part, were aware of the other's interest in Elara. Tensions began to simmer, not just between the two of them but also within their respective communities. The werewolves and vampires of Glenwood, long bound by a delicate truce, found this budding triangle a potential threat to their coexistence. Elara, caught in the middle, felt the weight of her choices. Each man represented a different world, a different part of herself. Alex, with his vulnerability and humanity, touched her soul in a way that was profound and moving. Damien, with his wisdom and otherworldly charm, awakened in her a sense of adventure and a desire to explore the unknown. As the full moon rose once again over Glenwood, casting its silver light through the leaves, Elara stood at a crossroads. Her journey into the supernatural had brought her to this moment, a moment where her heart and her destiny were intertwined with the fate of beings from legend. As autumn's embrace tightened around Glenwood, the town became a stage for a drama as old as time. The clandestine worlds of the werewolves and vampires, once coexisting in cautious harmony, found themselves teetering on the brink of discord. At the heart of this brewing storm was Elara, whose connections to both Alex and Damien had unwittingly become a catalyst for unrest. The werewolves, led by a venerable elder named Rowan, viewed the vampires with deep-seated suspicion. Their community, rooted in the primal forces of nature, valued strength and loyalty above all. Alex, bound by these tenets, found himself torn between his growing affection for Elara and his allegiance to his pack. His nightly visits to Elara's cottage, once a source of comfort, now sparked whispers of dissent among his kin. On the other side, the vampires, guided by the enigmatic and centuries-old matriarch Helena, watched the unfolding events with a mixture of interest and concern. To them, Damien's fascination with a human, especially one so closely tied to a werewolf, was a precarious deviation from their discrete existence. The vampires, who prided themselves on their control and secrecy, feared that this entanglement could unravel the fabric of their carefully maintained shadows. Elara, aware of the growing tensions, felt the weight of her actions. Her relationships with Alex and Damien, though born of genuine feelings, had placed her in the middle of an ancient rivalry. She found herself facing a dilemma that mirrored the complexities of Jane's life, a struggle to balance personal desires with the responsibilities and expectations of those around her. In her nursing career, Elara was accustomed to making tough decisions, to prioritizing the needs of her patients over her own. Yet, this situation was unlike any she had encountered. Her heart ached for both Alex and Damien, each representing a world she had grown to love and understand. Her nights were filled with restless thoughts, the faces of Alex and Damien haunting her dreams, each beckoning her to a different destiny. The tension reached a fever pitch during a town gathering, a celebration of Glenwood's founding. The event, usually a time of joy and community, became a charged atmosphere, the air thick with unspoken words and hidden glances. Both the werewolves and vampires attended, their presence adding an undercurrent of supernatural electricity to the festivities. Elara moved through the crowd, her smile masking the turmoil within. Alex was there, his handsome face etched with lines of concern, his usual warmth tempered by the cold gaze of his pack members. Damien, ever the picture of grace and composure, watched Elara from the shadows, his eyes reflecting the moonlight in a way that was both beautiful and unsettling. The night took a dramatic turn when a minor altercation broke out between a young werewolf and a vampire. Though quickly subdued, the incident was like a spark in a tinderbox, igniting murmurs of confrontation and retribution. Elara, witnessing the event, felt a sense of dread. She realized that her relationships with Alex and Damien were no longer just matters of the heart, but were now intertwined with the fate of Glenwood itself. In the days that followed, Elara sought to mediate the situation. She met with Rowan and Helena separately, her voice calm and steady, advocating for peace and understanding. Her words were those of someone who had spent her life healing wounds, not just of the body but of the soul. She spoke of the need for coexistence, of the beauty in their diversity, and the strength they could find in unity. Yet, despite her efforts, the divide seemed only to deepen. The werewolves and vampires, each guided by their own histories and fears, were reluctant to yield. Elara's pleas for peace were met with polite but firm resistance, their age-old grievances too ingrained to be easily soothed. As Elara grappled with this escalating conflict, she also faced challenges in her personal life. Her duties at the clinic became more demanding, and she struggled to balance her professional responsibilities with the supernatural crisis unfolding around her. She felt the strain of sleepless nights, her thoughts consumed by the situation. Her friends, unaware of the true nature of her distress, offered words of comfort and support. But Elara knew that the solution lay in her hands alone. The conflict reached its zenith on a night when the full moon shone with an intensity that seemed to reflect the turmoil in Glenwood. A confrontation, brewing for weeks, finally erupted. The werewolves and vampires, driven by centuries of mistrust, faced off in the heart of the forest, their anger and fear palpable in the air. Elara, accompanied by both Alex and Damien, stood at the forefront of this assembly, her heart heavy with the knowledge that the fate of Glenwood, both human and supernatural, hung in the balance. In the heart of Glenwood's forest, under the watchful gaze of the full moon, Elara stood as a beacon of hope amidst rising tensions. The confrontation between the werewolves and vampires, a climax of centuries-old animosity, was also a crucible for Elara's own transformation. Surrounded by the supernatural entities she had come to care deeply about, she found her own heart caught in a whirlwind of emotion and duty. Elara's relationship with Alex had blossomed into a profound connection. In him, she saw a reflection of her own compassion and resilience. His struggles as a werewolf, constantly balancing the primal and the human, resonated with her own experiences as a nurse, where she often navigated the fine line between emotional involvement and professional detachment. Yet their bond was tested by the weight of the werewolf community's expectations and the lurking disapproval of his pack. Concurrently, Damien offered a contrast that was both alluring and unsettling. His centuries of existence had endowed him with a perspective that was as captivating as it was enlightening. Damien's interactions with Elara were marked by a gentle exploration of philosophy, art, and the timeless questions of existence. With him, Elara ventured into realms of thought and feeling she had never known, her heart and mind expanding with each encounter. The romantic tension between Elara, Alex, and Damien was a dance of shadows and light. Each man offered something unique. Alex, a connection to the raw, untamed heart of nature, and Damien, a journey into the depths of the human psyche and the mysteries of the night. Elara, in the midst of this complex emotional landscape, experienced a profound journey of self-discovery. Her growth was not just in matters of the heart. The conflict in Glenwood demanded a level of empathy and understanding that pushed Elara to new heights of personal strength. She found herself becoming a mediator, a bridge between worlds. Her innate ability to empathize, so crucial in her nursing career, became the key to navigating the turbulent waters of supernatural politics. Elara's nights were spent in deep conversation with Alex and Damien, separately and together. With Alex, she delved into the lore of the werewolves, understanding their connection to nature and their fierce loyalty to each other. With Damien, she unraveled the complex history of vampires, their societal structures, and their philosophical views on immortality. In these dialogues, Elara's own beliefs and values were reflected and challenged. She began to see the world in shades of gray rather than black and white. The werewolves and vampires, once mythical creatures of the night, became embodiments of universal themes: love, fear, survival, and the quest for belonging. The romantic aspect of her relationships, while filled with passion and affection, was also a source of internal conflict. Elara's heart, capable of immense love, was torn. Her connection with Alex was grounded in a shared sense of humanity and a mutual desire to protect and nurture. With Damien, it was an intellectual and spiritual bond, a meeting of souls across the expanse of time. As Elara navigated her feelings, she also grappled with the implications of her choices. Her decision would not only affect her heart, but could also sway the delicate balance between the supernatural factions. The responsibility weighed heavily on her, a reminder of the complexities of love and leadership. Amidst this emotional journey, Elara found solace in her garden, her sanctuary where she could reflect and find peace. The flowers and plants, with their simple, unspoken beauty, reminded her of the fundamental truths of life: growth, resilience, and the enduring power of care and attention. Her interactions with the townsfolk of Glenwood also took on a new depth. Elara's enhanced empathy, shaped by her experiences with Alex and Damien, allowed her to connect with her patients on a more profound level. She became more than just a nurse. She was a confidant, a source of wisdom and comfort. As the seasons changed, painting Glenwood in the fiery hues of autumn, Elara's journey of self-discovery reached a pivotal moment. The tension between the werewolves and vampires, though subdued, still simmered beneath the surface. Elara realized that the path to harmony lay not just in diplomacy, but in the power of love and understanding. Her relationships with Alex and Damien, each evolving and deepening, became the cornerstone of her efforts to bridge the divide. In her heart, Elara knew that the choices she made would shape not only her destiny, but also the future of Glenwood and its hidden inhabitants. As the wheel of seasons turned, bringing a crisp chill to the air of Glenwood, a shadow fell upon the town, one that threatened to disturb its delicate balance. A series of mysterious incidents began to occur: unexplainable illnesses among the townsfolk, strange sightings in the woods, and an undercurrent of fear that seeped into the heart of the community. It became evident that an unknown force was at play, one that jeopardized both the human and supernatural inhabitants of Glenwood. Elara, who had become a nexus between the two worlds, found herself at the center of this brewing storm. Her relationship with Alex and Damien had grown stronger, yet the crisis demanded more than emotional ties. It required unity and leadership. Elara, drawing upon her experience as a nurse, where quick thinking and calm under pressure were paramount, stepped into this role naturally. The first sign of trouble was when several of Elara's patients exhibited symptoms that baffled medical science. These individuals spoke of haunting dreams, a deep sense of dread, and a feeling of being watched. Elara's intuition, honed by her encounters with the supernatural, suggested that these were not mere coincidences. She reached out to Alex and Damien, seeking their insight into what might be lurking in the shadows of Glenwood. Alex, with his keen senses and deep connection to the natural world, sensed a disturbance in the forest, a disruption in the delicate balance of nature. Damien, with his vast knowledge accumulated over centuries, speculated the presence of an ancient entity, a force that fed on fear and chaos. The situation escalated when a young child from the town went missing. A search party was formed, and Elara, Alex, Damien, and members of both the werewolf and vampire communities joined forces. It was a precarious alliance, but the gravity of the situation left no room for old grudges. Elara's leadership shone through during the search. She organized the groups, allocating tasks based on each individual's strengths. Her ability to remain calm and focused inspired confidence in others, bringing a sense of order to the chaos. Alex, with his heightened senses, led the search through the forest, while Damien used his network of contacts to gather information. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the air grew colder and a palpable sense of malevolence surrounded them. It was in a clearing, illuminated by the eerie light of the moon, that they found the source of the disturbance, an ancient spirit, a remnant of a long-forgotten past, its form shifting and flickering like smoke. The spirit spoke in a voice that was both a whisper and a wail, telling a tale of betrayal and loss, its existence bound to a tragic event that had occurred centuries ago in Glenwood. Its pain and anger had been festering, fed by the fears of the townsfolk and the discord between the supernatural communities. Elara, empathetic as always, listened to the spirit's story, feeling the depth of its anguish. She realized that this entity, lost in its own grief, was not malevolent by nature, but was lashing out in pain. She approached the spirit, her voice steady and soothing, offering words of comfort and understanding. Alex and Damien, despite their initial instincts to attack, trusted Elara's judgment and stood by her side. They too, in their own way, reached out to the spirit, acknowledging its pain and offering their assistance to find peace. The resolution came not through battle, but through empathy and a willingness to understand. Elara, using her skills as a healer, worked with Alex and Damien to perform a ritual that would release the spirit from its earthly bonds, allowing it to find rest. The ritual required the unity of human, werewolf, and vampire, symbolizing a harmony that transcended their differences. As they chanted in unison, the air shimmered and the spirit's form began to dissolve, its whispers fading into the night. A sense of tranquility settled over the forest, and the child, unharmed but asleep, was found at the edge of the clearing. The crisis had been averted, but it left a lasting impact on Glenwood and its inhabitants. The werewolves and vampires who had come together in the face of a common threat began to view each other in a new light. Old prejudices were questioned, and the beginnings of a newfound understanding took root. Elara's role in resolving the crisis solidified her position as a bridge between the two worlds. Her compassion, combined with her problem-solving skills, had not only saved the town, but had also sown the seeds for a more harmonious future. In the aftermath of the event, as life in Glenwood returned to normal, Elara reflected on her journey. She had faced the unknown with courage, had navigated the complexities of love and duty, and had emerged stronger and wiser. Her relationships with Alex and Damien had evolved, no longer just romantic entanglements but deep bonds forged in the crucible of shared challenges. In the weeks following the resolution of the crisis in Glenwood, a palpable change settled over the town. The air was lighter, the nights less foreboding, and in the hearts of its inhabitants, both human and supernatural, there was a sense of hope, a belief in the possibility of a harmonious coexistence. Elara, who had been at the epicenter of this transformation, found herself contemplating the journey she had undertaken. The once clear lines between her ordinary life and the world of the supernatural had blurred, merging into a new reality that was richer and more complex. The resolution of the romantic tension between Elara, Alex, and Damien was as profound as it was heartrending. Elara realized that her heart had room for both men, but in different ways. With Alex, she shared a deep, elemental connection, a bond forged through shared experiences and a mutual understanding of loss and love. With Damien, it was a meeting of minds, a relationship that transcended the physical, offering insights into the depths of time and emotion. In a heartfelt conversation under the starlit sky, Elara expressed her feelings to both Alex and Damien. There were no dramatic farewells or declarations of undying love, but a mutual understanding and respect. Alex, with his gentle strength, accepted Elara's decision with grace, acknowledging the unique bond they shared. Damien, ever the enigmatic figure, smiled his knowing smile, his eyes reflecting the wisdom of ages. He assured Elara that their paths would continue to cross, their bond a constant in the ever-changing tapestry of time. The resolution of these relationships was not the closure of a chapter, but the beginning of new, different chapters in their lives. Elara's journey had taught her that love was multifaceted, that it could take different forms and fill different spaces in one's heart. In the aftermath of the supernatural crisis, the communities of Glenwood experienced a renaissance of sorts. The werewolves and vampires, once shrouded in secrecy and suspicion, began to interact with more openness. Guided by the example set by Elara, Alex, and Damien, they embarked on a path of tentative cooperation, their shared experiences during the crisis serving as a foundation for a tentative peace. Elara found herself in a unique position, respected and trusted by both communities. Her home became a place of gathering, where beings of all kinds could come together in a spirit of friendship and understanding. Her role as a nurse took on a new dimension as she became a healer, not just of physical ailments but of rifts between worlds. The changes in Glenwood mirrored the changes within Elara. She had grown in ways she could never have imagined, her experiences enriching her understanding of the world and herself. Her journey was a testament to the power of empathy, the strength found in embracing the unknown, and the beauty of growth and change. As Elara tended to her garden, now a riot of colors and scents, she reflected on the importance of balance in life. The garden, with its delicate ecosystem, was a metaphor for her existence. Just as the plants required sunlight and shade, water and space to grow, her life needed a balance of love, duty, adventure, and peace. Elara's story, a tapestry of romance, mystery, and personal growth, was a reminder that life was not about choosing between different parts of oneself, but about finding harmony within the diversity of one's experiences. Her journey resonated with the challenges and aspirations of Jane's life, echoing the themes of balance, empathy, and the courage to embrace the unknown. In Glenwood, where the ordinary and the extraordinary lived side by side, Elara's story came to a close, not with an end, but with the promise of new beginnings. For in the heart of this small town, the lesson was clear. Life was an ever-unfolding story, rich with the potential for growth, understanding, and the magic
Thank you for listening to this session. We hope it brought about the peace and inner calm and allowed you to just be. Please take a moment to like this video, as it'll allow the algorithm of the platform to share this with people like yourself, who would benefit from these music therapy sessions. Please subscribe to our channel to be notified about the publication of the next session. Until then, may you have the serenity to accept the things you cannot change, courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference.